So we read last week a paragraph that Maharaj was saying. I just want to read it again because it contains everything you need to know, really. If you just took this one paragraph, everything else would come out of it, I think, in spiritual life. Maharaj was saying, he says, I don't get flustered. I just do the needful. I do not worry about the future. A right response to every situation is in my nature. I do not stop to think what to do. I act and move on. Results do not affect me. I do not even care whether they are good or bad. Whatever they are, they are. If they come back to me, I deal with them afresh, or rather, I happen to deal with them afresh. There is no sense of purpose in my doing anything. Things happen as they happen, not because I make them happen, but it is because I am that they happen. In reality, nothing ever happens. When the mind is restless, it makes Shiva dance, like the restless waters of the lake make the moon dance. It is all an appearance due to wrong ideas. There it is.
Yeah,
That's the whole of it right there. A wonderful paragraph to kind of every now and then just touch upon and meditate on. So let me put the mute on. Of course, remember, anybody, you can always unmute for any reason at all to say, share, challenge, or ask anything you like. All right. So the question he starts with today, after hearing that paragraph, our questioner says, well, surely you're aware of many things and behave according to their nature. You treat a child as a child and an adult as an adult, right? So you must have some distinguishing factors, as he's talking about. You must see some difference in things. It can't just be really this everything at once. And then Maharaj gives a beautiful answer here. This, I think, to me, is the pinnacle of spiritual experience. He says, just as the taste of salt pervades the great ocean and every single drop of seawater carries the same flavor, so every experience gives me the touch of reality, the ever fresh realization of my own being. That to me is the pinnacle of spiritual life. And this is where we're going to mix some bhakti in with the jnana here. This notion of every moment being a touch of the divine, the brush of Mother Sari on your face. That literally every single thing, and things between things, everything becomes a pointer to the beloved, to the divine, to that ultimate reality. In this sense, it just, everything about your existence reminds you of Satchitananda, takes your mind into that stage of pure love, takes your mind into that state of pure wisdom, of pure being, just the heart wide open, seeing all as the self. Everything is as intimate to you as a lover, and even more. Everything is the intimacy that everyone is trying to reach through lovers, but can never quite reach that level of intimacy. This is divine knowledge. This is what real seeing is. This is what life is meant to be for us. This experience of this beautiful remembrance of this ideal, that even to read of it is inspiring. This ideal of an unconditioned, unwavering love outside of time, infinitely deep, infinitely fresh, always creating, always sustaining, always destroying. So he says, just as the taste of salt pervades the great ocean and every single drop of seawater carries the same flavor, so every experience, everything that bumps into the senses, this being the experience, every experience gives me the touch of reality, points to my being beyond it all. Just touching the body reminds me, I see clearly, because I'm watching that touch, I'm witnessing that touch, I'm witnessing the feeling. Everything reminds me of my home, reminds me that I am in this eternal, unchanging perfection, deep within the heart, the shrine of the heart. So the questioner says, well, do I exist in your world as you exist in mine? Of course, you are and I am, right? It's that isness that's always behind his identification. That's all he identifies with, the I am, the existence, being. But only as points of consciousness. We're points of reference, right? You're in a dream. You're just a point of reference in that dream, because the real you in a dream is the dream itself. Everything in that dream is your mind stuff. So everything in that dream is equally you. But for some reason, by Maya's will, or if Maya has a will, who knows? But by Maya's will, by the will of the Divine Mother, we're just a point of reference there. We don't actually exist in that dream. We've just taken a point of reference within consciousness. And that is what he's pointing to exactly here, that we are here, but only as points of consciousness, not as a body, not as a mind. And you can sort of play with this one. I did a vlog yesterday on experiments, contemplation experiments that kind of take you to some interesting places. And one of the experiments that I did one time, I didn't mention it yesterday, was to figure out where I am. To figure out where I am. Where is the I in this body? And so I remember as a brahmachari sitting in the shrine, I would put my hand at random places. Like I'd put my hand here, and I would try and figure out, where is that in relationship to me? Is that above me? Is that under me? Where is that? And I would, by doing it, I would focus purely on the sensation, not the cross-referencing between the different senses, just the sensation of touch. Where is that? Is this in front of me or is this behind me? And it's very interesting, because if you look purely at the information that you're getting, not at your assumptions, but purely at the meaning of the impulses of sense that you're being given, you cannot tell where that is. You do not know where you are in relationship to those things. You can see that really you're not a geolocation. Your sense of I is not a place, which is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing to sit in for a while, because the in a sense, the less discreet you are in your sense of being, the more facets or sides God has to touch, as it were. And that mixture that God permeates that sense of self. That is the real. That is the real in you. So, of course, you and I are, but only as points of consciousness. We are nothing apart from consciousness, right? Without this awareness with objects in it, we could not exist without consciousness. This must be well grasped. The world hangs on the thread of consciousness. No consciousness, no world, right? There is no existence of your universe without consciousness, without that awareness there. And you say, oh, well, surely it must exist even though I'm not here. I mean, when my friend dies, the world still exists. It doesn't exist from the perspective of that friend anymore, and if all of us went, there wouldn't be any world left. So there is an element of this conscious reality, or this reality of consciousness, that is shared. But within that shared perspective, we have all created our own world. That's why we can both be sitting in the same operating room, and one of us can be in heaven and one of us can be in hell, even though we're in the exact same operating room. This occurred to me, I don't know, many years ago, laying on the lawn in the summer at the Olima retreat. I was laying there, with my head on the grass and my arm like this, and the grass was kind of up in front of me, and I could see this little ant that was wandering up and down these stems, just kind of exploring his big giant world, which is tiny to me. And then I also saw just beyond him one of those little jumping spiders, that kind of flick around. And from that perspective, seeing him that close, he looked like this horrible monster, all these eyes and all these limbs and these mandibles coming off the front of him and black and hairy. And he sees the ant and he goes into hunting mode, and he goes and he hunts and he jumps and gets the ant. And I'm sitting there watching all this, and I'm thinking to myself, look at how many worlds are coexisting in this one space. There's my world where I'm the biggest thing on the lawn. No spider's going to grab me and drag me off at this moment. I'm just sitting here enjoying the sun of the day. This ant's just out wandering, but is in mortal danger, being hunted literally by a monster that then pounces on him and takes his life right there in front of me. I watch something die, and just to see all of that happen in the same reality, and from each of our perspectives, how radically different this world is, how radically different of a space it is to experience. And so this is why Holy Mother tells us mind is everything. Right? It's the condition of your mind that gives you the condition of your life, not the condition of a world outside of you. No, it's your view of that world, your view of yourself in that world, and the relationships that you assume because of those views that give you your experience of your world. So you do not have an unhappy life. You are viewing your life as unhappy. Right? Your life is just a life. Everybody's life is just a life. And in this moment, if you have good karma, according to Swami Prabhupada, in this moment, if you have good karma, you can take whatever life gives you and you create gold from it. You create beauty from it. If you have bad karma, you may get the same set of circumstances, but you create misery from it. You create anxiety from it. You create sadness from it. And so the power lies within you. That is the whole reason. Let me make a bold and maybe an ignorant statement, who knows? But that the major purpose of karma is not to explain your condition in the world, not to explain what happens to you. There is no explanation to what happens to you because there's no purpose necessarily in what happens to you. You assign it the purpose. You assign it the meaning. When it meets you, you are the one that gives everything in the world value. The world outside of the world of sense is just isness. It's just the way it is. And you create a reality. Good karma, you create good. Bad karma, you create bad. And so the reason that we're taught about karma is to put your destiny in your hands. You are not a victim of your conditions and circumstances. You are the master of your life. And if you are not happy in it, change. If your life has not worked up to this point, do something different. Stop doing the same things over and over and over again, expecting a different outcome. This is why we renounce. This is why we discern, right? So that we can detach, we can practice letting go, because individual perspectives are not native to us. We see everything all at once, like Thakur said. We are not a point of perspective. We are an ever-present witness of isness.
Maharaj, I had a question. When he's talking about nothing apart from consciousness, or the world hangs on the thread of consciousness. So when Nisargadatta Maharaj, when he uses consciousness, he's talking about the manifested consciousness usually, right? So the I am, so is he saying that it's I am that the world hangs on? He's taking the absolute universal Brahman sense that, consciousness, like awareness kind of thing.
Well, he defines, Sri Nisargadatta defines consciousness as different from awareness in the sense that consciousness is awareness with objects.
Right. So here he means that then?
Yes, he means awareness with objects in it.
With so the I am.
Right. And the I am is the Christmas tree that holds the ornaments.
Okay.
I am. But even if you take all of the ornaments away, the Christmas tree still remains as I am. That's pure awareness. But that's one without a second. But in this state here, when he's talking about himself as a teacher and seeing this guy in the world and saying, our worlds are, you do exist in my world as I exist in yours, it's because he's down one step from pure I am. He's in the I am, and you are too. So the world of objects. Yes. So the questioner asks a good question here. He says, so there are many points in consciousness. Are there as many worlds? Maharaj, Take a dream for an example. Oh, yes, let's do. Take a dream for an example. In a hospital, there may be many patients, all of them sleeping, all of them dreaming, each dreaming his own private, personal dreams, unrelated, unaffected, having one single factor in common: illness. Similarly, we have divorced ourselves in our imagination from the real world of common experience and enclosed ourselves in a cloud of personal desires and personal fears, personal images and thoughts, ideas and concepts, right? So you see what he's saying there. It's like, yes, we don't focus on the commonality of our world. You know, we think that each one of us is having a very different experience of life, a very individual experience of life, which is true, but it's not us. That's not us. That's the problem. It's like, yes, we see that particular perspective, but that's the wrong thinking. It's the commonality really that is real, more real levels of reality, more real to us, but that we see our own personal conditions as things that separate us and isolate us from this perceived oneness. You know, you can see the oneness of the world. I mean, that's one of my favorite things in nature. That's why I love dead trees out in the desert, you know, those old cypresses with their curling, dried trunks. And you can see their whole life is harmony. Their whole life is reaching for the light, you know, that you see how they bend with the wind, how they grow around a rock, how they make room for the tree next to them, how they may grow and entangle their branches and actually fuse at times in their branches. But you see the story of oneness in the skeleton of that tree. You see the story of unity. You see the story of reaching for light, reaching for truth, reaching for love. You see the struggle, all leaving its marks behind. You know, and so everything around us that we're seeing is a reminder of the unity, a reminder of the singularity, a reminder of the harmony that's inherent in all of this. And in that, we lose our will. We surrender our ego, our sense of separateness, and we ride the wave. We ride the ride. You know, take it where it goes. Accept it without resistance, and create according to our nature with whatever is given in the moment, whatever our love inspires. Right, without concern for result, without a need for anything. We simply, through our nature, take the moment and create gold, create beauty, create love, create wisdom, or manifest might be a better word. Manifest those things, because it's not a conscious doing. It's something that happens because we are what we are. We are Satchitananda. He says, well, I can understand this idea of the hospital and everybody dreaming. I can understand that. But what could be the cause of the tremendous variety of personal worlds? What's the cause of this? Maharaj says, well, the variety actually is not so great, right? And that's something very interesting. If you sit and have some really deep conversations with people, you find that in general, our lives are almost the same. We're all looking for the same thing in this world. We're all looking for love, you know. We're all looking for security. We're all looking for Satchitananda, actually. All the qualities of Satchitananda. We can smell them. We have an awareness of these qualities, right? We don't know where they are, though, like the musk deer. He can smell the scent in his navel, but he doesn't know from whence it comes. So we know the reality. We can feel it. And we hunt for it in the material world because that's where we're identified. That's where we think we are. That's what we think we are. So we search out this aroma of Satchitananda. We search for its source in the material world, but it's not there, right? It's not there. So the variety, it's within us. And so the variety is not so great because, I mean, it is great, but only out at the end of the branches. You know, at the end of the branches, there's a whole bunch of branches. At the trunk of the tree, there's one, right? So in ourself, as Satchitananda, there's one trunk. But when you follow that out to the branches by going out through the senses, you find thousands of things out there. But what is the variety in them? They are all of the same nature, all of the same thing, an expression, a manifestation of the same principle, the same ideal. So the variety is not so great. All the dreams are superimposed over a common world, right? So we do have that universal mind, this common world that we all share, the common dream. To some extent, they shape and influence each other, right? So you do see that twist in the branches of the tree, responding to the presence of other things in its effort to reach for light, in its effort to manifest. If manifestation's an effort. To some extent, they shape and influence each other. The basic unity operates in spite of it all, right? It's that unity that's actually bringing all of that together. Love, the one motivating factor in the universe, according to Swamiji. At the root of it all lies self-forgetfulness, not knowing who I am, right? And that's what gives things their power. Because in not knowing what we are, we share our identity with things that have nothing to do with us, right? We identify with mind, and by doing that, we empower mind. Thoughts take on a sentience because we share our sentience with them. You know, there become voices in the mind, and they take on characters and take on strength and influence because we are divided within ourselves. The duality doesn't exist outside, it exists within. So as long as we believe there's a thinker and a listener in our mind, we live in duality because we've broken it into two pieces. But in fact, the thinker and the listener are one within us. And our whole process, most of our process of thinking, and I caught this last night, actually, I was sitting here actually in a dark room giggling to myself like any sane person does. I was just sitting there laughing because I was having these conversations in my mind and just had one of those fun moments where mother sort of gives you a little bit of awareness, returns some awareness to you. And I just saw the absurdity of this conversation that was happening in my mind. And I was telling myself jokes and just kind of just thinking, but just enjoying my own company. I'm sure that's normal. And so, but then the laughter came from me because I thought how absurd this is. I know everything that I'm going to tell myself. I'm not going to hear anything surprising from my own mind because the listener and the speaker are the same. They're one inside there, right? But we forget that oneness and we believe in the multiple voices in our mind. And by believing in them, which is identity, believing in them is confusion. Believing in their existence as separate from us is the delusion. And when we believe in them and identify with them, they take on meaning and they take on power. And pretty soon, like Eckhart Tolle says, we get into a situation where we're addicted to thinking. Thinking becomes our entertainment. Thinking becomes our sense of being. We get to the point where, where Descartes says, I think, therefore I am. Right? He gets it totally backwards. It's I am, therefore I think. But he comes up with I think, therefore I am. And that is the delusion. Your thoughts become your reality when you have that delusion. I think, therefore I am. That becomes addictive mind noise and prevents you from seeing the singularity of the self reflected in the waves reflected in the ocean of the mind, the lake of the mind, right? So at the root of all lies this self-forgetfulness, not knowing who I am. Questioner, well, to forget, one must know. Did I know who I am before I forgot it? Oh, that's a good one. Of course, Maharaj says. Of course, so your realization isn't going to be anything new to you. Your realization is going to be just a big fat memory bubble. Like, oh, of course. Oh my God. Oh my God. How did I not see that? It's not going to be like, oh my God, look at this. It's going to be like, yes. Yes, I'm home. I'm home. I'm home. I'm home. That's your realization. An utter familiarity where you see it as it is. Of course, Self-forgetting is inherent in self-knowing. Consciousness and unconsciousness are two aspects of one life. They coexist. So that is why your realization can be fully present within you right now, right? Fully present within you right now, but you're not paying any attention to it because you're identified with mind and change, right? Not with that still awareness that lies at the center of yourself. It's like I saw a woman, not talking. She was at this lookout point, and she had put a quarter in one of those big, magnifying telescope things that they have for tourists by the edge of the parking lot by the Golden Gate Bridge. And so she was just fully engaged in this thing. And her little daughter, this little toddler, there's some pretty dangerous things around there, was running all over the place. And the woman was completely unaware of where her daughter was. And she pulls her eyes away from the light, and her daughter is back off behind her. And she has a moment of panic because she's like, oh my God, where's my daughter? My daughter's lost. And of course she finds her. So she turns around. But that's the whole point. You see, you and I have our eyes hooked up to the big machine of the mind. And we're looking through that machine, looking at all of this stuff there is to look at. Oh my God, look at all those sensations. Oh, this is amazing. I want, I like. Oh, I don't like, right? And we're all fascinated. And God is standing right here. Your realization is right there. And you're just like, where are you? Where are you? I just can't see you anywhere, God. God does not exist. How can the scriptures that say that God is as near as my neck when I'm looking at least 2 miles ahead here and I can't see God at anywhere, right? And there he is right behind you, just waiting for you to take your attention out of mind, waiting for your attention to come off of thought and into the stillness of being, into the silence of the shrine of the heart, into the presence, which has always been there, steady and quiet. To know the world, you forget yourself. To know the self, you forget the world. What is the world after all? A collection of memories. Cling to one thing that matters. Hold on to I am and let go of everything else. Right? That's how you become the rock in the middle of the stream. You just remember I'm the rock. And you just let the stream pass by. You don't get caught in it. You don't get affected by it. Let it wash over you. The world is just a collection of memories. Oof, that's a big one right there. Right? It takes a memory to give meaning. It takes memory to have cause and effect. Right? It takes memory to have a sense of doership. Memory is what causes you to have the delusion that you're the doer. Memory is what causes you the delusion of change, right? Because the moment never changes. The moment is always a still frame. It's always your memory of the previous frame looking at the current frame that creates movement, that creates change, right? And so we have to let go of this idea. What is world after all? A collection of memories. Cling to one thing that matters, the I am. That's all that matters, your isness, your being. And there is so much peace in that if you dare. This is something that most people cannot even begin to do because we so treasure our memories. We so treasure because we've invested so much in our personality. We've invested so much into our story of what we are and who we are. We have become so enamored of this set of limitations and restrictions that we've adopted for ourselves after a lifetime of crafting desires and their fulfillments, that to let go of it now, we're like, oh no, I couldn't possibly. This beautiful, wonderful structure that I've created for myself to live in, it's so familiar to me. I know all of the problems in here. I know all of my weaknesses. I know how I'm taking care of them. And certain ones we just don't look at. Everything is beautiful in here. No, I don't have to. No. I can't set that down. I've learned too much. I know too much. I've worked too hard to be here. How can I lay it down? Right. So where your treasure is, there your heart is also, Jesus says. right? So if this life and in this personality, in this world that you've created, this story of yourself, if that's your treasure, that's where your heart is. And your realization is right next to it.
And all of society and all of business and all of, almost everything encourages us to do the exact opposite of what we should do.
Absolutely. That's absolutely it. This culture, especially, we're doomed in that sense. Every desire, every single billboard, every single advertisement is there to produce desire in you, to tell you that you are not good enough and we have the solution. Every single thing that we look at during the day. I remember driving back from the airport in San Francisco. On the side of the mountain, there was a big sign that said it was for a camera. At the time, I was collecting slogans to do a lecture on, actually. And the slogan on that billboard said, "Image is everything." And I thought, therein lies the problem. Therein lies the problem.
Almost every aspect of Vedanta and the greatness and everything, all the great things that are being taught are totally at odds with the business of society.
Yes. Western society, for sure. Yeah. No, absolutely true. We totally are. We are 150% invested in the material. As a culture, no doubt about it. So he says, so yes, you've always known who you were. So your realization won't be a new thing. It'll be a return to a beautiful intimacy, something you have always known to be true, and it will be the best of every memory. So cling to the one thing that matters, your sense of being, which means let go of your history, let go of your story, let go of your past, let go of your meaning, your projected space in this world. Let go of all of that and just be fresh, be new, see it for the first time, right? Let go of your future, let go of your responsibilities, let go of your angers, your feuds, your disagreements, your hurts, because you are the only one in the room. This is the only reality, the only moment that is real. Everything else just a memory, and you are free in it. You are free in it. Cling to one thing that matters. Hold on to the I am and let go of everything else. This is sadhana. Okay, this is spiritual practice. Being in this moment, right, means not being in this moment as an ego self, because ego is composed 100% of the past. It's simply isness, meaning you're not seeing anything in particular. You're not experiencing anything in particular. You're experiencing everything all at once at this moment. You're not a particular yourself, so you're not particularizing what you're observing. You're simply seeing the observed and the observing as a unity, as the power of the fire and its power to burn. You're getting a real awareness of what that means. Your power and and the fire and its ability to burn is your seeing everything, but not particularizing. That is by not particularizing and focusing on the I am itself, the fire and its power to burn will stop being distinguished, stop being separated from one another. That separation requires particularization. It requires egoism. And so as we just keep stepping back from that, keep stepping back, neti, 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 we remove ourselves from all the particulars of egoism, and we begin to catch a glimpse of the truth beyond that.
So Maharaj, so I understand what you're saying, but in practicality, is it saying that you just do everything without judgment?
Yes.
You just it's just whatever is supposed to be done in life, you just do it, but then
Yeah.
you don't have an opinion or a judgment, or just
Right.
uh,
Yes. Yeah, I'm gonna read that paragraph we started off with again. This because it's such a beautiful encapsulation of exactly what he's talking about. I don't get flustered. I just do the needful, what's being presented in the moment, what's needful in the moment. I just do it. I do not worry about the future. A right response to every situation is in my nature. So I don't have to calculate or think or form a thought about it. I do not stop to think what to do. I act and move on. Results do not affect me. I do not even care whether they are good or bad. Whatever they are, they are. If they come back to me, I deal with them afresh, or rather, I happen to deal with them afresh. There is no sense of purpose in my doing anything. Things happen as they happen, not because I make them happen, but it is because I am that they happen. In reality, nothing ever happens. When the mind is restless, it makes Shiva dance, like the restless waters of the lake make the moon dance. It is all an appearance due to wrong ideas. So it's that restless mind that makes Shiva dance, that makes Shiva turn into Shakti, as it were, manifests the power of God, right? In that sense.
Maharaj, I mean, he's already realized. So whatever action happens, it happens from the source, and it's not quote unquote wrong, right? But as seekers, it's still the action may still come from the ego self, right? And you just let it happen without judgment.
Yes.
You try to hit the home run.
What's there to judge in it? You know, it's yes, because God is everything. When Thakur says you are not the doer, he's talking to ignorant people, and he's telling them you are not the doer. So even in our ignorant state, we are not the doer. So that alleviates you of your interest in the moment, your interest in cause and effect, your interest in manipulating the moment. Because the body mind and the samskaras, the wheel of samsara that's rolling in there, that keeps the body mind going. You know, it just carries on doing what it's doing. When the body's hungry, the mind knows where the food is. The mind knows how to run the oven. The mind knows how to get the food. The mind knows how to take care of the body. And that just had that would just happen whether you are present or not in a sense. You know, of course, with Thakur, when he wasn't, well, it's impossible. When he stopped being particular, his body would freeze. You know, his heart would stop. You could touch his eyeball with your finger, because he was no longer identified with just that body. In that highest samadhi, he's identified with everybody, with everything simultaneously, in a unified way. He is everything. And that's always true. Even for us right now, we are that. That is true of our nature right now. But we really believe, and would rather believe, because of our delusion, because of our fear of smallness, that we exist and that we're in control, because our fear demands that we be in control. Our insecurity demands that we act. Our sense of lack demands that we do. But all of those senses, the sense of lack, the sense of fear, the sense of smallness, those are all wrong thinking. They are not what you are. They do not describe you. But as long as you hold on to them, your ego is very comfortable. Your ego has a sense of empowerment, a sense of doership, a sense of control, and it can build a future, and it can avoid a past, and all of that. And that is how we experience life. But if this ego can be let go of, this sense of individual separation, and the story is let go of, cause and effect, which is the story, if that's let go of, And you give yourself to be new and the permission to be new in this moment, to not be defined on what you did in this moment yesterday. You know, if you can let go of the flow of your story and be in this moment newly for the first time, that's where your experience of God will become clear. That's where you will know the presence, and you won't have named it something else. You will see it as it is by letting go of everything else. All right.
Thank you.
All right. All right. So what is the cause of this self-forgetting? There is no cause, because there is no forgetting. Doggone it. I can tell if you're a true Gyani, there's no carpet in your house. Because the carpet is constantly being pulled out from underneath you. There is no cause because there is no forgetting. Mental states succeed one another. They just come one after another, and each obliterates the previous one. Self-remembering is a mental state, and self-forgetting is another. They alternate like day and night. Reality is beyond them both. So yes, I mean, the fact that you don't have any idea of who you are at this moment does not negate the fact that I can look at you, that you're here, right? You just think that you're here as a man or as a woman or as an American or as an old person or a beautiful person or any of the infinite number of attributes we grab onto, right? But no matter what you believe about yourself, there you are. There is a commonality to all of our existence, and that commonality is what is real. And that is Satchitananda. That is the self within. The one that is talking to you right now is the one that is listening in you to the one that is talking right now. The speaker and the hearer in the mind are always the same. Always the same. The distinction is unreal, right? And so we come purely into the moment and live that way. We don't think and calculate. We simply see, are aware of everything in our field, and we do what is needful. It's self-explaining. Do what is needful, right? And if you can't figure out anything that's needful, then just sit and sing the name of God. Become aware of awareness in there. So there is no cause because there's no forgetting. Self-remembering is a mental state, and self-forgetting is another mental state. They alternate like day and night. Reality is beyond them both, right? Which is to say, reality contains them both. They are both in the reality. And so we are in all of these different states, experiencing things according to the states that we're identifying with at the moment we're identifying with them. But the isness that is behind them all is the transcendent reality. Surely there must be a difference between forgetting and not knowing. Not knowing needs no cause. Forgetting presupposes previous knowledge and also the tendency or ability to forget, right? Because this guy is still convinced that his sense of being, who he is in his mind. That's what's driving the confusion. He still thinks that who he is in the mind. Forgetting presupposes previous knowledge and also the tendency or ability to forget. I admit I cannot inquire into the reason for not knowing, but forgetting must have some ground. Maharaj, there is no such thing as not knowing. There is only forgetting. What is wrong with forgetting? It is as simple to forget as to remember. Questioner, is it not a calamity to forget oneself? Maharaj, as bad as to remember oneself continuously. There is a state beyond forgetting and not forgetting. It's the natural state. To remember, to forget, these are all states of mind, thought-bound, word-bound. Take, for example, the idea of being born. I am told I was born. I do not remember. I am told that I shall die. I do not expect it. You tell me I have forgotten, or I lack imagination, but I just cannot remember what never happened, nor expect the patently impossible. Bodies are born and bodies die. What is that to me? Bodies come and bodies go in consciousness, and consciousness itself has its roots in me. I am life. Mine, I am life, and mine are mind and body. Right? So he is that reality that permeates all bodies. You, we, that is the reality behind all of this diversity. There is a commonality through all of this difference, and that commonality is what is real. That is the unchanging reality, and its nature is Satchitananda. Questioner, you say at the root of the world is self-forgetfulness. To forget, I must remember what I did not, to forget, I must remember what did I forget to remember. What in the world is this guy saying? You say at the root of the world is self-forgetfulness. To forget, I must remember. What did I forget to remember? I have not forgotten that I am. Maharaj, this I am too may be a part of the illusion. Well, how can it be? You cannot prove to me that I am not, even when convinced that I am not. I am. Reality can never be proved or disproved. This is interesting. Within the mind, you cannot. Beyond the mind, you need not. In the real, the question, what is real, does not arise. The manifest, saguna, and the unmanifested, nirguna, are not different. Questioner, in that case, all is real. Maharaj, I am all. As myself, all is real. Apart from me, nothing is real. Right? Because you are that. You are that divine principle. Right? God is principle. We talk about this, but it's important in this life. God is principle. Principle doesn't act. You know, principle can manifest, but it doesn't act. It doesn't have a purpose. It's a principle. And it's the principle of pure love. And it's the principle of pure wisdom. And it's the principle of being. And when that acts, when that vibrates, when that is given sentience through identity with the divine principle, it becomes you. It becomes me. It becomes sunshine and planets and solar systems and all of that, right? It becomes all of that through you, through this funneling of Satchitananda, the divine principle, through a musical instrument, like the wind that goes through a flute and causes the song, causes the notes. Satchitananda manifesting through your ego is playing the song of your life, playing out the story of your being, right? But what is real in that? What is real in that is the flute, right? And the principle of Satchitananda that goes through it, right? So what is real is Satchitananda. The rest of it requires memory, requires projection. Apart from me, nothing is real, right? So that's important to know, that apart from the one within, there is no other. So when you're having that argument about whether to engage in your vice or your virtue, know that there's no conversation. Know that you don't have to make a decision. That if you just don't do anything on purpose, the right thing will be done, because it's your nature to do the right thing. Virtue is your nature, right? So when you're sitting there arguing with yourself about having that extra piece of cake, know at that moment, without me, nothing is real. There's only one person in this body. There's only one voice in this body. And there's no one to argue with. Cake will not be eaten, right? because it's eating the cake that takes the effort. It's not the not eating of cake. The not eating of cake takes no effort at all. It's the eating of cake that takes effort. And so if you divide your mind into a part that wants cake and a part that doesn't want cake, and you let them argue with each other, you did that so that you could eat that piece of cake. You did that for the sole reason of losing that battle. And you'll fight that battle just long enough to believe that you put in a valiant effort, and now poor me am a victim of this samskara that I can't control. Oh, mother, please forgive me, as you're wiping the crumbs from your mustache. Oh, I'll do better next time. You imagined that whole thing. There was one person within you. There were not two people in you. That conversation and that argument was all framed, all put together by your ego to get what it wanted and to have you still feel good about yourself. Right? That's what happened there. So remember, outside of the self, there is nothing else is real. You are the one that makes things real. If you touch it with your identity, it becomes real. You share your sentience with it. It becomes something, right? Even though it's your own mind. What you think about those others in your mind is what makes them real, your identity with them. So reality cannot be proved or disproved, right? In that case, all is real, he said. And Maharaj said, well, I am all. As myself, all is real. Apart from me, nothing is real. Questioner, I do not feel that the world is the result of a mistake. Maharaj, you may say so only after a full investigation, not before. Of course, when you discern and let go all that is unreal, what remains is real. Does anything remain? The real remains. But don't be misled by words. Why would he say that, right? Don't be misled by words, because words have all of the delusions inherent in them. Right? You can't have words without time. You can't have words without subject, object, and verb, right? You can't have objects without time, space, and cause. You can't have words without time, space, and causation. So you see, just to think about things is to accept delusion already, right? So understand that this truth cannot come through words. It can be only pointed to by words, but it cannot be in the words, because to think about something is to accept wrong thinking already. It's accepting time, accepting causation, accepting subject, object, verb, all of that. So don't be misled by words. Questioner, well, since immemorial time, during innumerable births, I build and improve and beautify my world. It is neither perfect nor unreal. It is a process. Maharaj, you are mistaken. The world has no existence apart from you. At every moment it is but a reflection of yourself. You create it, you destroy it. Questioner, and build it again, improved. Maharaj, to improve it, you must disprove it. One must die to live. There is no rebirth except through death. Questioner, your universe may be perfect. My personal universe is improving. Maharaj, your personal universe does not exist by itself. It's your belief in it, right? It's you holding on to it that makes it real. That's how we get entangled. That's why sitting in the waiting room, you're in misery and I'm sitting there giggling in happiness. It's because both of us are holding on to a story that we won't let go of, you know, and we're deeply invested. We value that story because we've invested what we see as a whole lifetime into it. We went to school. We've paid our money. We've made our purchases. I can't let go of the story now, right? That was the hardest thing for me. You know, when I back in 1994, I think it was 5. Remember my story about sitting on the edge of my bed, coming home from the club and just sitting there and looking around my room and thinking, God, I've done everything I'm supposed to do in this life, but I'm not happy. I don't feel fulfilled. And I looked around and I saw that I hadn't added anything to my life since college. That with all the money that I'd had, I didn't add anything to my life. Everything that I had in my life just got bigger. Right. And I saw that. I saw, look, I don't have anything new. I just have bigger of everything. And if I keep on this path, I'll make more money and I'll get a bigger house and I'll get a bigger stereo and I'll get a bigger television still. I might even get a bigger bed. But what will there be to add to me? Because in the middle of it, I will remain me, unchanged in this. And that was a very hard thing to face. At that point, it was 27 years of my life I had invested. And I realized there was nothing there. And that I wasn't happy in the midst of all the things that were changing in my life. Because really it was just a change in appearance. And when I sat there on that bed that night and I said very important words that every one of us should say to ourselves, I said to myself, Vance, which was my name at the time, I give you permission to do anything you think is necessary to find meaning for your life. I give you permission to do anything. And 2 weeks later, I was standing in the Prague International Airport with a laptop and unknew everything. I walked away from my whole life. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't have an idea of happiness. At that point, I thought to be an expatriate writer like Hemingway would be my happiness. So that's what I started off to do. But you have to give yourself permission to let go of your story. You have to give yourself permission to let go of the life that you've invested in. You have to give yourself permission to find answers that will be different from the ones that have not fulfilled you. Right? In the end, it is you that is clinging onto the rope that binds you. Like Vivekananda said, yours is the hand that binds the rope that holds you down. Let go thy hold, sannyasin bold. Say Om Tat Sat Om. Right? It's you not giving yourself permission to do what you need to do, what you know you need to do, to let go. Right? And that can look like anything. It may not be actually any physical change at all. It just might be truly letting go. And if you can do that in the moment, the world will change before you, because your mind is your world. And it's your mind that is your karma, that holds you accountable to your karma. And what Sri Nisargadatta is doing here this morning is giving you permission to be free. To say you can stop it all at this minute if you want to, in the words of the Divine Mother. You can have it all this moment if you want to. So go inside and discern. See what's happening in that inner world. Where is the confusion between self and body, between self and mind, between body and mind? Where are those confusions? Where are those attachments? Where is this thought that's in my head at this moment coming from? Can I just let it go? Can I just let all of them go? And return to what is a perfect moment? Is it possible? Not without your permission. You cannot move without your own permission. All right. Stop there.